What's up, Planeswalkers? Derek 6 back with some more Magic the Gathering spoilers. If you're on the West Hemisphere, then it's late and you'll listen to the 1,000-Year Quiet Storm. I am just kidding, my friends. It is Magic the Gathering time. We're going to be talking about some cool spoilers. Now, this is going to be a long video because of the fact that there was a huge dump of them the first couple of days, and we have a lot to go through. I did post a poll type. I posted a question essentially on how exactly people would like to see me talk about these things, and it seems like people want me to go pretty in depth, so we're going to do that. I am going to try my best to put a timestamp for each single card that I go over, and it may not be all of them because I'm primarily going to be using Scryfall, but I do know that Scryfall did not have these fuzzy images, and I wanted to talk about those as well. So I suppose, without further ado, we should get into it. I'm actually going to turn this down just a tad bit more. Yeah, don't want that overpowering too much. I do want it in the background, but I don't want it too much. Now, I'm going to talk about these cards as best I can in terms of their applicability to limited, standard, and then eternal formats. Unless something is specifically great in a single eternal format, like Commander or Modern, I'm just going to talk about them in the context of eternal formats as a whole. I'll talk about the art, I'll talk about any story implications that I can. Yeah, it's going to be as holistic as I can get, but these are going to be bonus videos as easily as I can do them. I do have a math exam on Thursday, so the middle of the week might not be the easiest to actually put these out, but I will also be putting them at midnight because I do think that is technically the best time slot for me to include that, because it doesn't take away necessarily from the actual video that I put out today, but additionally, I should say, for those of you who actually do watch the entirety of the first video and see the end card at the end, the previous video will be this, which is helpful for this video after the next video comes out. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, of course, this is still a normal Magic the Gathering video. I do, of course, hope you go to flipsidegaming.com and use promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. It's a good deal, helps support the show, and you can pre-order some More of the Spark now. Considering a lot of these cards are pretty dope, I would suggest you get on that, honestly. Also, there will probably be a decent amount of drinking of the apple juice to smoothen up my throat. So the first one here is Roalesk Apex Hybrid. This is a mythic rare Simic card, which is pretty interesting. So I assume they're going to have this card actually matter in the storyline. Otherwise, it's a bit strange that a random Simic card is so important. But this is a 2 green-green-blue legendary human mutant flying trample. So Flample. A 4/5 Flampler for 5 seems not terrible. When it enters the battlefield, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control. So it can't put counters on itself. Otherwise, honestly, that'd be pretty insane. That'd be a 5-mana 6/7 Flampler. That'd be ridiculous. And then when it dies, proliferate. Then proliferate again. I'm definitely going to be trying out a proliferate deck, but for what it's worth, this actually might be an interesting card to put in some of the Simic Adapt decks, because of the fact that, for what it's worth, you can play this out and immediately get your Adapt trigger on some of your other cards. And since it does put 2 counters on them, it means that it's not really a downgrade. Some Adapt creatures have Adapt costs that give you more than 1/+1/+1 counter, specifically the Incubation Druid. She gives herself 3. So being able to do this instead of using that 5 mana to just activate her, you can play this, get the 2 counters on her, and then she is activated and she only has 1 less token counter than she otherwise would. And when this dies, it can buff up the rest of your field by 2 entire counters, which is really, really nice. I don't see this particularly in the Eternal formats. I think obviously this is a 5 mana 4/5 flyer. That alone makes this pretty decent in limited, as long as you can actually meet the color requirements, which I have to assume that since this is probably still going to be a relatively multicolor set, that they're going to have some sort of fixing at least uncommon, maybe not common this time, because I assume it's going to be less multicolor than Ravnica usually is. But that said, I think this is definitely decent and limited. It might see some play in some form of standard deck. I just don't know what it is yet, because this is kind of working at a bunch of different angles. That said, it is a totally fine value card, and I kind of expect to see it somewhere. This for what it's worth, it does seem fine in Atraxa, but everything in this dang format, in this dang set, seems fine in Atraxa. Niv Reborn. Werborg for a 6/6 flyer, legendary creature, dragon avatar. So I guess I really want to read the story now. I haven't had enough time to really dive deep into the Ravnica story so far, but we've known for a long time that Niv Mizzet has been doing something. A lot of people thought that he was trying to get a Planeswalker Spark, but it looks like he hasn't. Or at least he hasn't now. There might be some interesting ramifications from all the sparks flying around during War of the Spark that maybe Niv Mizzet will eventually become a Planeswalker, which I don't like the idea of because I don't like Niv Mizzet. I know a lot of people love Niv Mizzet. I just don't care about him because I guess I owe allegiance to exactly one dragon, and that's Bolas. So, you know, he's interesting, sure. When he enters the battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library for each color pair. Choose a card that's exactly those colors from among them, then put the chosen cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So, there are a few important things to note here. This is as far as I'm aware. There may be some rules, things that I'm not sure about, or that will get clarified later, but as far as I'm aware, this does count hybrid things. So if you are playing something like, let's see here, I can't think of anything, of course. Let's use the Azorius Guild Mage, the OG one, back from actual City of Guilds. That card is a white-blue hybrid, or as I like to call it, just Azorius. So it's an Azorius cost, and that does count as both white and blue. That said, we're not entirely sure. I assume this also counts color identity, so if you have an artifact that is an artifact, and it doesn't... I'm trying to think if there are any cards that have a multicolor color identity that also are on the original side. Because I know, like, Garrick Relentless flips into a green-black Planeswalker. Is it green-black or just black? I don't remember. If nothing else, Arlinn Core definitely flips into a red-green Planeswalker. So I'm not entirely sure on that one, but I believe if it has the color identity of exactly 2, and it has to be exactly 2, the hybrid doesn't work if it's like a Jund Hackblade. That is a card that costs, I believe, a black, green, and then a red for a goblin. That is 3 colors. That is the Jund colors. So that something like that wouldn't work. It has to be exactly those 2 colors. No more, no less. And it's 1 for each pair. So that is the guild pair, right? That is, you know, Orzhov, Selesnya, Izzet, etc., etc. It's those 10 things. So you can hit max 10 cards, but you can only ever hit 1 Azorius card, 1 Orzhov card, 1 Rakdos card. So I hope that helps. That said, this is possibly going to be like one of the new favorites for many like really multicolor heavy commander decks. This is not... we might have an interesting, fun, janky 5-color dragon deck, so I'll definitely try that. The problem is there are not a ton of multicolored dragons, and the ones that I can think of that are just 2 colors aren't great. I know there's like Bladewing the Risen. There are some Tarkir dragons that are 2-colored, but there aren't very many past that, and that's for like EDH. For what it's worth, you know, it's still a 6-mana 6/6 flyer, so it might be just fine in another dragon EDH deck, just as you can kind of get an extra bonus. But in standard, I don't see it really, unless you're trying to actively make kind of a wonky deck with it. Yeah. Next up, we have Sorin, Vengeful Bloodlord. I'm very curious as to how the hell he got out of that wall. Although I guess it was just a normal wall, and Sorin is relatively strong, so I assume it just like was wrenching back and forth, and he did it long enough to get out. I'm curious as to what exactly is going to happen, because we know Nahiri is on the plane as well. So my guess is that Sorin and Nahiri just don't even bother with the war. They just fight each other the entire time, and it's so awesomely stupid, their conflict. Nahiri is a D-bag. Sorin's a D-bag. Freaking Nahiri shows up. She's like, Sorin, help me. The Eldrazi are in Zendikar. And instead of like just telling Nahiri that, like, dude, I'm tired. I just made this thing out of the chunk of the moon, and I just like used like half of my godlike energy to create this being that's gonna like protect my plane while I'm off helping other planes. You just come back later, maybe like 100 years or something. I'll be able to help you out. But no, he's just like, get off my plane. I'm like, dude. So then she retaliates in a stupid, like, bad way. Like, she freaking condemns his plane instead of just, I don't know, trying to kill him by himself. They're both stupid. And I honestly, what I want to see happen is it's like freaking middle school fighting, to like two kids in middle school fighting, where they get sent to the principal's office, and after that they like become friends again or something like that. That's what I want to happen. But enough of the story. Let's talk about the actual card. 2 and a white-black. Oh, I should mention that the planeswalkers in the set, if they're uncommon, they have a static ability or triggered ability, as well as a single minus ability. I think all of them are minus. If they're rare, they have 2 activated abilities and then 1 static. And then if they are mythic, and there are only a few mythics, then they have all 3 plus the static. So, let's see, 2 white-black for a 4 loyalty walker. As long as it's your turn, creatures and planeswalker you control have lifelink. That's very interesting, because this Sorin deals 1 damage to target player or planeswalker. So you will be activating on your turn most of the time. He'll be able to gain you a life as well. So this technically reads Sorin deals a damage to a thing, and you gain a life. Or, -X, return target creature with converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature is a vampire in addition to its other types. I am, very interested in this deck. Because since it starts out with 4 and it does have a +2, you can maybe get some interesting reanimator shenanigans. So I'm looking forward to trying that out. That said, it's probably fine in the Orzhov life gain decks. It's probably fine in limited. I don't see it being the best. Honestly, this is pretty much just going to be a reanimation spell in limited. But honestly, a reanimation spell in limited is pretty dang fine. Yeah, I don't think there's a ton to talk about. Mark Rosewater did say that they tested out black dealing damage. They've been doing that for a little while, a few sets now. And I believe, if I recall correctly, he said on his Tumblr that they're no longer doing that. I think they're going back to black just being life loss. And frankly, that's what I think it should be. Ral, Storm's Conduit. I believe he is the one who calls the Planeswalkers. I believe he was working for Bolas on Project Firefly. I really need to read up on the recent stories from Ravnica. I know the first and then the return to Ravnica, but I don't know this yet. But I believe he essentially calls some planeswalkers and he's like, "Hello, please help." And Bolas is like, "Ha ha ha, that was my plan the entire time," or something along that line. So yeah, that's it. Well, 2 and a blue and red, 2 blue-red. For a 2 loyalty planeswalker. So he starts out real low, but he does have +2, which is nice. Whenever you cast or copy an instant spell, Ral deals 1 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. Cast or copy. We just have another win condition for Thousand Year Storm. By that I mean the quiet Thousand Year Storm. Oh yeah. Smooth jazz. Huh. Well, that's interesting. I am willing to say this is going to be a niche deck in Standard, at least on Arena, right? Just for the fact that it can put damage in. I'm just imagining Electrostatic Field, this, and then Thousand Year Storm. You don't need Gutter Snipe because it dies too easily, but Electrostatic Field, this, and then Thousand Year Storm can really just rack up the damage real fast. Insert "that's a lot of damage" meme. +2 gets to scry 1. I mean, that's not great, but I think its static ability makes up for it, so I think the +2 is honestly fine with that ability. -2, whenever you cast your next instant spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets. Yeah, this Planeswalker is interesting. It might see modern play. I'm not entirely sure. It might see modern play in the in some sort of Storm. I don't know. Modern is very fast right now, so we kind of have to see what exactly Modern Horizons brings. Because I don't think this alone is good enough to do that. But by golly, I see this being interesting in Standard. I think actually, where it's weakest is limited. I guess for what it's worth, the Scry helps, and then you can just use a removal spell with this. If you're playing Grixis in limited somehow, then the -2 being able to destroy 2 things with 1 card is actually very powerful. So I think depending exactly on your pool, this might be great in limited. But otherwise, I think it's probably going to see some marginal Standard play, and then maybe some modern play. Otherwise, Domri, Anarch of Bolas. So Bolas has had to promise this kid something, or he's very stupid. I'm gonna go with a mixture of both. Domri does realize that he's a planeswalker, and all of the planeswalkers who work for Bolas right now don't exactly love their jobs, and one of them even freaking left. Shouting out to Sarkin. Then again, Domri's an idiot. He's a freaking kid. I think he's I think when we first saw him, he was 16. He might be like 17 or 18 by now. I'm not entirely sure. But, like, I understand he's a kid, but he's stupid. He's so stupid. Oh, man. Whatever. I hope Domri dies. The character could be interesting. I just think that... And I love Bolas. Don't get me wrong. I think he's stupid for not realizing that Bolas does not give a crap about you or your stupid clan. Creature you control. For what it's worth, 1 red-green. For a 3 loyalty planeswalker. Creature you control get +1/+0. I mean, it's decent. You know, the thing that is kind of iffy is that it does compete with the Riot enchantment. I cannot remember the dang name. I can see it in my head, but I can't remember the name. It does compete with that slot. That said, it is... I think it's worth running, right? If you're playing kind of a red-green monster deck, this is fine. +1, it does a very similar thing that the Riot enchantment does, whereas creatures can't be countered. Your creatures that you can't be countered. For what it's worth, it doesn't have to use that green or red mana. It's any creature you cast, so you're going to be able to use 2 things. Very similar to 4-drop Domri, in that you are also adding mana. For what it's worth, though, this can be used on anything. I think the other Domri has to be used on a creature, but I might be wrong about that, so don't quote me on it. -2, target creature control fights target creature you don't control. It's good that he survives after this, but as I said, I do think this is probably a pretty decent card in something like a kind of mid-rangey monster deck, something that wants to play, you know, not necessarily Steel Leaf Champions, but definitely things like Phoenix, and some of the other large Gruul cards, you know, Ravager Worms, etc. So I think we could see this in Standard. Everywhere else, I don't think it's good enough. Yeah, I don't even think this is EDH playable. Maybe in like a super go-wide token strategy. Nissa, who shakes the world. I don't care about Nissa, as you probably know. 5 mana for a 5 loyalty planeswalker, though, is pretty decent. She's a rare, so she has 2 things. And whenever you tap a forest for mana, add additional green. This is going to be played in EDH. 100%. People will pay 5 mana for this effect anyway, right? For being able to double your mana. And this one is not even symmetrical, so I think this will definitely see play in EDH decks that want the effect, because she also has other effects. +1, put 3 1/1 counters on up to 1 target non-creature land you control, so you can't keep bolstering a single land, you do have to spread out the love. Untap it, it becomes an elemental with vigilance and haste. The reason it gives haste, for those of you who aren't sure, is that they don't want any annoying tournament rulings where someone plays out a forest and then they target their new forest. Because technically that is a thing. They are different objects, even though they're functionally identical, because everything is affected by summoning sickness, or everything has summoning sickness, but only creature affected. So that's why they give lands haste with abilities like this. They've been doing it for a long time now. But yeah, so her plus is fine, because honestly, it does turn one of your lands into a creature, so it can die now with removal. But for what it's worth, the fact that she has that mana activated, that mana static ability, means that even if it gets destroyed, you're not really too concerned, because you have more mana than you otherwise would. She protects herself. She goes up to 6 doing it, which is insane. It has vigilance as well, so it can still activate its mana ability. It can still block. Honestly, I think just reading those 2 abilities alone makes me want to say that unless the format is like super Planeswalker Death heavy, I think she's pretty reasonable to play. I don't know where exactly, but that honestly seems like a very, very reasonable set of abilities on just the first 2. -8, which you can ultimate in 3 turns after you cast her, which is nice. On the 4th turn, I believe. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, on the 4th turn. You can emblem with lands you control have indestructible. Search your library for any number of forest cards, put them into play tapped, then shuffle your library. So this is actually pretty interesting, because you could theoretically combo this with Fall of the Thron. You don't necessarily need to, but you could. And it makes it so that all of the lands that you've turned into creatures are going to be things that you don't have to care about dying. They obviously can still get shuffled back in with, or not shuffled back in, but exiled with something like Citadel of the Wreckage. But I wouldn't be surprised if Nissa doesn't see play in Standard, because it really depends on what the entire format looks like once we get War. But in a vacuum, I do believe that Nissa is a powerful card, and her abilities interact with each other very nicely. That is one thing that I do like about Nissa that I really should say, is that Nissa has always been consistent, right? Nissa's thing is about animating lands, about like using lands for things, plants and things like that. So I really do appreciate Nissa's overall consistency. As I take a drink, because my throat is sore. Ooh, delicious. Chandra Fire Artisan, or Artisan, or whatever you want to say. 2 red for a 4 mana planeswalker, 4 loyalty planeswalker. Whenever 1 or more loyalty counters are removed from Chandra, she deals that much damage to target opponent or planeswalker. Notably, she can't really kill the creatures that are dealing the damage, but she does kind of dissuade your opponents from actually hitting her because she can hit them or a planeswalker they control. So that is decent. +1, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. Kind of harkening back to some of the other Chandras that get this ability. Honestly, I don't love the idea of Chandra getting this type of ability. I like really restricted planeswalkers, and I like them to be restricted flavorfully. So I don't necessarily want planeswalkers to be like one-trick ponies, because that limits the design space a lot. But for what it's worth, I do suppose that she has had this before. I just wish that some of her other cards didn't make like elementals, because then that's like a third thing that's additional, and it does seem that she should just be doing damage and like drawing cards with this exile type thing. So you know, decent. +1, you get to exile the top, and you may play it this turn. So that can definitely help in some red decks. I'm not entirely sure if this is good enough to see play. I hazard a guess to say no. And then -7, exile the top 7 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. You might be asking, why would you do that? It's because you get the entire thing at once, when you might need to just find that last bolt or something to finish your opponent off. Again, I don't think that she's good enough to see play in standard. In limited, she's fantastic because of the fact that you just want to be able to dig through your deck and find your powerful cards. So her +1's going to be great. But other than that, I don't see her doing great. It's interesting that Dovin's Thopters are just like in the background there, but you know. Gideon Blackblade, I'm so glad that they named him that, because I believe that all of the Blackblades, all of the wielders of Blackblade have just essentially taken that name because the Blackblade becomes a part of them, right? Hakon and Dakon Blackblade, I believe, are the 2 characters we've had with the actual surname. So I'm very happy that they decided to force Gideon to actually take that mantle on. I will say his head's looking a bit small in this art. I like that he has like his more classic looking armor back. I'm a fan of Amonkhet. I love the Egyptian theme and everything. Just didn't like it on Gideon for whatever reason. That said, Gideon is a 3 mana, 4 loyalty walker, 1 and double white. Pretty decent. He's also a mythic, so he gets 3 abilities. Essentially, it's reasonable what they did here. They took away one of his activated abilities, just giving him an additional static ability, although I guess you guys have to decide if it's worth it. As long as it's your turn, Gideon Blackblade is a 4/4 human soldier creature with indestructible, that's still a planeswalker, and then prevent all damage that would be dealt to Gideon Blackblade during your turn. So these abilities are kind of one and the same, but he does get to attack, which is kind of an activated ability. And since damage would be prevented, he'll never lose counters for being blocked, which is very, very important. Some problems that other Gideons have faced before when turning into creatures is that if they didn't have a clause like that, then they could lose they could lose tokens. It's interesting, you know. Whether or not it's going to be great is debatable, but for what it's worth, it is a 3 mana 4/4. It's not a 3 mana 4/4 that can attack, or a 3 mana 4/4 that can block, but it is technically a 3 mana 4/4. +1, up to 1 other target creature you control gains your choice of Vigilance, Lifelink, or Indestructible. So unfortunately, you can't give him Lifelink. Vigilance wouldn't really matter because of the fact that he wouldn't be a creature on your opponent's turn. But the fact that you can't give him Lifelink is kind of annoying, but you know, it's reasonable, I suppose. And it does limit the design space. It forces you to play creatures. You can't just... sometimes there are control decks that just win with like a single Gideon or something. And then -6, exile target non-land permanent. So that's very interesting. That is the Dakon's, or the Blackblade's ability, essentially. You're just going to be able to, once you use Gideon enough, you can go ahead and just slay things, which is really cool. It's unfortunate that it's non-land, but I guess it makes a little bit more sense. Like, you're just going to plunge it into the ground, and then a radius is going to get destroyed. So, you know, you just delete this and all that. Luckily, I should also mention, for some of you who are maybe a bit newer, that the +1 can target... up to 1, which means it could be 0 if you don't have a target for it. Karn, the Great Creator. 4 mana for a 5 loyalty planeswalker, and it is, I was going to say gold, it is rare, so we're going to be getting 3 abilities on it. Activated abilities are artifacts your opponent's control can't be activated. This is going to see play in EDH 1000%. I don't know if it's going to just be like a staple, or if it's just going to be in like specific play groups, but this is a strong card in EDH. The fact that it only costs 4 and it's all generic means that, for example, let's say you're going first, and let's say you have a Soul Ring. You play, let's say we're playing a monocolored or a colorless deck. We play Waste, Soul Ring. All of our other opponents also play Soul Rings. We're going to go to our turn, play a Waste, play a Karn. None of their Soul Rings now work. So many people play artifacts that have activated abilities. Some are mana abilities, some are really important key things to their strategy, some are win conditions in their own right. This shuts all of it down. Shut it down, shut it all down. It's great. This could, because it costs only 4 mana, this could even see play in modern sideboards. I think that the Eldrazi decks might want this in sideboards because it can affect other decks. I am blanking on the decks that I'm thinking of, but I know there are specific decks in Modern right now that care about activated abilities of artifacts, and I can't remember what they are. But for what it's worth, this at least hits Tron a little bit. I don't think you would play this in mono white because you have access to Stony Silence, but in decks that don't have access to something like Stony Silence, this is decent, right? This is something that is annoying for your opponents to deal with, and it has other abilities. I haven't even gotten to the abilities yet. +1 until your next turn, up to 1 target non-creature artifact becomes an artifact creature with power and toughness equal to its converted mana cost. Now, this does not say one that you control. So if you are having difficulty destroying an artifact because you, let's say, only have like actual creature removal, you can turn a thing into a creature, blow it up. It's very helpful. It also turns zero cost artifacts into dead because they'll have a power of or toughness of 0. Yeah, I mean, this is just an interesting plus that doesn't really matter. -2, you may choose an artifact card you own from outside the game or in exile. Reveal that card, add it to your hand. Now, of course, in actual formats, this is only going to be able to get things from your sideboard because them's the rules. But it actually might be decent in that you could theoretically play card in the main deck and play other artifacts in the sideboard and not need to bring those other artifacts in because you can just use Karn's ability to get those artifacts into the game. If you're using some sort of artifact-based combo deck and someone actually happens to not only get it off the field but put it all the way into exile where it's a little bit harder to get, you're going to be able to get that as well. So that's really nice. I do believe that technically this comes with a rules change. I think the change has happened already, and it might have been a little while, but I believe it used to be that you could get, when it said something that's outside the game, you could get it in exile, but that was back when exile was considered not in the game, but exile is now its own zone, even though it sounds like it's something that's like outside the game. It used to be called remove from game, the remove from game zone, but it is exile, so you can get it, etc., etc. I think Karn is worth running in, I don't think it's going to see play in standard unless there's a really interesting artifact deck. I think in Arena Plus, whenever they do that after rotation, if Kaladesh comes back, then this actually seems like not only a good card in Kaladesh decks that have artifacts, but also in decks that want to kind of beat those other artifact decks. I know that there's a module combo that I will definitely be playing, and if someone plays this against me, I'm going to be sad. I can still, I believe some of the abilities are triggered abilities, so I can still do that. It's just I can't rev up the chainsaw to keep it going. I don't think that this can, I think this will see play in EDH. It might see play in Modern. It might see play in like Legacy or Vintage. It might see play in Vintage. Oh my god. This legit might actually just be a breakout in Vintage. No one cares about that format though, which is sad. Big Bolas Dragon God. Let me take a little drink before I talk about this card. I'm hype. 5 mana for 4 loyalty Mythic Planeswalker. We've got 4 abilities on this bad boy, one of which is not activated. Blue, black, 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 red. I'm very happy that they did not make this card splashable. Legendary Planeswalker, Nicol Bolas. Technically just Bolas. I believe in Spanish-speaking countries it has to say Nicol Bolas because Bolas is like balls. Nicol Bolas, Dragon God, has all loyalty abilities of all other Planeswalkers on the battlefield. There was a post somewhere on Reddit, I believe, that asks what happens if you have a Nicol Bolas and then your opponent has a Nicol Bolas, if it's like an infinite regress. No, they just both have each other's abilities. That's it. Because it doesn't give them the abilities. Essentially, it like has access to those abilities. if you want to think about it that way. But there's an interesting infinite combo in standard once war comes out in standard that I will be talking about in just a second. But let's go through the rest first. +1, you draw a card. I mean, that honestly seems decent already. 5 mana planeswalker, comes with 4 loyalty, draw a card up to 5, seems decent. Each opponent exiles a card from their hand or a permanent they control. Now, what I'm curious about though is I assume they have to do something if they can, right? Like, if they have no cards in hand, can they choose to exile? I'm pretty sure they can't, because then they're not actually like paying the cost or whatever. But that is, in a 1v1, that is a 2-for-1 ability right there. In a multiplayer game like EDH, that is potentially a 4-for-1. It's real damn good. This card is going straight into my Chromat deck. This card is going to go straight into my Nicol Bolas deck because I play all of the Nicol Bolases in that deck. I love this card so much. I'm also, for what it's worth, I'm glad it's red so that it can't be played in Atraxa, because fuck that. -3, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Just kill it. And it doesn't have to die to do so. Just goodbye, planeswalker. Now, for what it's worth, you do lose out on that other planeswalker's planeswalker abilities, but who cares? It's gone now. You can also destroy creatures, which is very helpful. -8. Each opponent who doesn't control a legendary creature or planeswalker loses. Period. In EDH, this is technically hard because of the fact that it does say legendary creature, and I think they did that just for EDH, honestly. But let's say none of your opponents currently have their commanders out. Let's say you're in a play group. They just don't really care about playing their commander. They just play like a bunch of combo nonsense. Let's say you get to turn 5, and just before all of these players go off, you know, they set up, they use their turn 4 to set up. They're pretty tapped out. Just go and play this Nicol Bolas. Kill all of them. Chef's kiss. It's great. The one downside is that you do have to wait until the 4th turn that it's out, +1 plus the 5th turn. But still, if you have a planeswalker, let's say, I don't know, Vraska, the 6 mana card, you can +2 on this to make a 2/2, so that you cut down on the time it takes to get to the -8. Oh, also I should note, with doubling season, this immediately ultimates. My Chromat deck is looking real fine. It is going to be hard to cut that deck down. Anyway, let's talk about the infinite combo. I believe I actually have to go here and scroll up just, here it is. Yes, scroll up just a little. We're going to talk about Ajani right now. Well, we're going to talk in context just about the Nicol Bolas ability. So we're going to go back to Nicol Bolas real quick. This is what he looks like. All right. Now, he has all loyalty abilities of other planeswalkers on the battlefield. Ajani says -2, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each other planeswalker you control. Now, why is that good, though? Why is that good? It doesn't combo right there. We need Jace. We need the sexy Jace, Jace Cunning Castaway, because he has a -5 ability that says create 2 copies of Jace. It's technically when something references its own name, it is discard. So it's create 2 copies of this card, except they're not legendary. So how are we going to get Bolas to be at 5? Well, this starts at 4. We have this on the battlefield. We have Jace on the battlefield. -2 this, -2 the Ajani. Bolas now becomes a 5 loyalty walker. Jace becomes who cares. Now, with Bolas, the original Bolas, you use Jace's ability to -5, and you now have 2 copies of Nicol Bolas. You still have Ajani and Jace on the field. With one of those copies of Nicol Bolas, you use the minus ability from Ajani to put a 1/1 counter on this Bolas. With this Bolas, you minus it, you get 2 more, and you still have this one. And then you do it again, and again, and again, until you have infinite Bolases. Infinite Bolas. I will be making this deck. I guarantee you that. I do not care that it's a 5-color white. Jace and Bolas are blue. Bolas is black and red, and this is green. 5 colors. Bolas is a triple black planeswalker. Jace Cunning Castaway is a double blue planeswalker. I am making this deck for you. That I'm making this deck for me. All right, this is so cool. I cannot wait to play it. I don't even care if I win 1 game out of 100 with this freaking deck. As long as I can get that on video, it is going to be so sweet. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm not gonna lie. That said, Nicol Bolas was our last card that we need to talk about over on here, over on Myth Explorer. And now we're jumping over here. I'm going to be talking. I'm going to like be scrolling kind of strange. So I'm talking about the row above me. I don't know why I use my hand to point at my own screen. So they did a cycle of land. Shut up. They did a cycle of lands that show souls, sparks flying around. This is the Hallowed Fountain. I think this is the university, like the Simic University. Over here is Orzova, I believe. This is obviously the like Temple Garden. This is that here, and then this is Vitu-Ghazi, I think, the World Tree. It looks like it's standing up, which is interesting. It would be really cool to see like the actual World Tree. And then I believe, where's the Airy? Where's the Fire Mine place? Oh, I think this little nub here is the Airy, the Nidix. This is the Bolas's thing. You can actually see Bolas there. Looks like a little bat symbol. And I believe that like something around here, I think this is the Boros Legion area. But really interesting lands. There's actually another cycle of lands, which is pretty cool. That said, I don't love them. I don't know why. They look cool. I'll agree with that. But for some reason, I'm just like, eh. So we're not going to talk too much about basic lands. Ignite the Beacon. 5 mana for an instant. Search your library for up to 2 Planeswalker cards. Then put them into your hand. There's a card called Call the Gatewatch. I believe it's a 2 and a white sorcery that searches for 1. I believe it's a sorcery. I could be wrong. Pretty sure it is. This is just better. In EDH, you just go ahead and say, I'm going to grab 2 Planeswalkers. Ooh, I cannot wait. You can set up so many Planeswalker combos. Oh, it's so good. I am 100% putting this in Chromat. Do I think this is going to be good in Standard? I do not think so. Just because of the idea that I think it's just better to naturally draw in. I got mustache in my mouth. I think it'd probably be just better to control the board and just draw into your Planeswalkers naturally than it will be to tutor them. That said, I will be playing it in the combo deck because I will absolutely need to make sure I can get those cards assembled. This won't see any play other than, I guess in Limited it's pretty decent because you can just get 2 of your most powerful cards that you open, so that's nice. But other than Limited, Standard, and obviously EDH, I don't see this card being played anywhere. In Standard, it's only going to be in like the combo deck. Interplanar Beacon, so this is like Project Firefly, I think. That thing over on Nivix. This is Nivix. It's the area of the Firemind. Whenever you cast a Planeswalker spell, you gain 1 life. Cool. Add a colors. Sure. Tap a generic. Tap this. Add 2 mana of different colors. Spend this mana only to cast Planeswalker spells. So I'm going to play this in Chromat. The unfortunate thing is a lot of good Planeswalkers so far have been just double up a color. So like Elspeth Sun's Champion is 4 white. I don't know. OG Garrick is 2 green. You know, there's a lot of those. So it's going to be a little bit difficult, but for what it's worth, the deck does run all of the filter lands. So, you know, I can easily filter one of those things into the filter land to make triple of a single color. So that is nice. If you're playing a Planeswalker control deck, I think this is possibly going to be decent. It's going to help you. And it might be able to diversify your bonds a little bit. But other than that, it's okay. It's not going to see play anywhere other than like EDH and potentially Standard. Tezzeret, Master of the Bridge. This is the Buy a Box promo. And there currently aren't many artifact shenanigans going on. And what's good is that the set this is good with, which is Kaladesh, isn't in Arena. But what it is, it's not going to be something that you have to spend real money on the card to get. You can still, I believe, I don't think you have to buy... Crap, I should have double-checked that. Hopefully you can actually just craft these things. I'm pretty sure you can, because I don't think I bought a bunch of things. I think I just crafted the Great Worms. Not sure. That said, so this, regardless, isn't going to necessarily require a giant price point like Nexus Fate did. Which is really nice. But what's cool about this card, and I think this is a really interesting buy box, I think it is powerful, but it's not something that's going to be played in Standard, really. I think it would be played in plenty of Kaladesh decks, but creatures and planeswalkers, creature and planeswalker spells you cast have affinity for artifacts. So those of you who have not been around since OG Meriden, which was in like 2008, was it 2008? 2004? Might have been 2004? 2002? Crap, I don't remember. I started playing in 2005, so I'm not entirely sure. Affinity essentially means that this spell costs 1 generic less to cast for each artifact you have. So if you have on the board 3 Karn struck tokens, Tezzeret is in play, and you have, let's say you have Traxos. Why not? Traxos then, since it costs 4 generic originally, Traxos would then only cost a single 1 because you count up the Karn structs, which is 1, 2, 3. Take 3 off. It's 1. Cool. It starts out with 5, pretty easy. Plus 2, Tezzeret, Master of the Bridge, deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of artifacts you control. You gain X life. I'm looking forward to Kaladesh being in Standard again, or in Arena Modern, to try some wacky things with this card. I definitely had a blue-black improvised deck, so I'll be very interested in kind of coming back to that and making, seeing if this Tezzeret works. Because I played the other Tezzerets, the 4-mana Tezzeret, I played the 5-mana Tezzeret, and I played Karn. So I'd be very interested to seeing if this is also worth it, because then I'll have like a lot of non-artifact spells. So I'm like, minus 3, return target artifact from your graveyard to your hand. This is pretty decent if you're going to try and do the Grixis version of the module combo. I've done blue-red. I've done Izzet module combo mostly, but this might be a reason to branch out into black, just because it allows you to get back one of your combo pieces. Minus 8, then exile the top 10 cards of your library, put all artifact cards from among them on the battlefield. And this is another reason that you might want to do that. Since he is a +2 and he starts out with 5, you can pretty quickly get to his minus 8, and you'll be able to potentially just like get the combo off there. So even if I don't actually end up running a lot of black there, I do think this is worth it for the module combo. So in terms of where this sees play, I don't think there are enough good artifacts in Standard right now for this to see play in Standard. I'm gonna try. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna try to see if this works in kind of a an Esper build with a lot of the Dovin Thopter tokens and things like that. But I think that Arena Modern, this card is potentially going to be pretty decent. It's gonna try out the module combo. This card's too slow in Modern. In EDH, I don't know of too many blue-black artifact decks in EDH. I know there's some Esper ones with like Sharam the Hedgeman and stuff, so he might be good there. I just don't actually know. Next up is Vraska, Swarm's Eminence. She's looking great here. I would love for them to change the Vraska avatar to this, because this looks a lot better in my opinion. 4 mana, it's 2 Golgari for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals damage to a player or planeswalker, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. So it's giving some incentive for those Death Touch creatures not actually dealing damage, which is nice. So it gives your opponent a really interesting like catch-22. It's, do I let this Death Touch creature grow, or do I just take the L and have my creature die? So -2, create a 1/1 black assassin creature token with Death Touch, and whenever this creature deals damage to a planeswalker, destroy that planeswalker. So that's very nice. So it allows you to have a Death Touch deck that is a little bit better. I'm going to revisit the Death Touch deck because she's cool. I think honestly she's probably going to be decent and limited, like most of the planeswalkers are. But in Standard, other than kind of the meme Death Touch deck, I don't think she's good. Pretty much the same everywhere else. I'm wondering if you have enough good cards to make an EDH Death Touch deck. I'm really curious about that, but yeah. Vraska's Finisher is an interesting Gorgon Assassin, so 3 mana, 3/2. I should mention that these fonts are kind of just a mistake. They're going to be back to Beleriand font, so don't worry. You see Tezzeret has the correct font on them, but these don't for some reason. When Vraska's Finisher enters the battlefield, destroy a target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls that was dealt damage. This is going to be helpful and limited because it's going to be able to allow you to pretty much just attack in at a planeswalker or at your opponent, and if they do decide to block with something that's bigger, you can pretty much get in for some lethal here. What's nice is that this is a 3 mana 3/2, so it doesn't have a terrible body for limited, and you're getting an additional effect. Now you might be saying like you kind of lose. You're kind of like 2-for-1ing yourself, but you're not, because you don't really lose a card since you still have the 3/2. You do end up losing the creature that died if it did die to kill a larger creature. But I mean, for what it's worth, that's like fine. Other than limited though, this card's not gonna play. They're reprinting Ajani's Prideboi. I don't like that they removed May, but whatever. Ajani the Great-Hearted, I'll talk about him in earnest now. 4 mana, 2 green/white for a 5 loyalty walker. Creature you control of vigilance. That's fine. I think it's decent for an enchantment that does other things. +1, you gain 3 life. Huh. So it's a 4 mana walker, gives your creatures vigilance, and gain 2 life on entering, going to 6. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, and each creature, not just one, and a loyalty counter on each other planeswalker you control. I feel like green-white life gain might be a decent deck. Might be a decent deck, especially since this is just a rare, it's not a mythic, so that's nice. It works really well with the Giant's Pridemate. It works well with things like March of the Multitude, since those have lifelink as well. You can make them larger, especially since this puts a 1/1 counter on each, not just one. They have Vigilance. A Giant's Pridemate, one of the problems with that deck is sometimes you just can't attack because your opponent also has a decent blocker, where they could just like chump block this and then kill you on the crackback. So, you know, I think this is a potentially decent card in kind of the life gain decks. You can throw this in, like, if you play this on turn 4 into a Tristani on turn 5, I think that honestly is going to be pretty good. Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Emergent Zone. Add a colorless, a generic and tap, sacrifice it. You may cast spells this turn as though they had flash. I am afraid of this card. I am very, very afraid of this card. This is potentially dangerous. This is potentially very, very dangerous. I have no idea what is good. The reason this is dangerous is because typically quicken effects have cost blue. And blue, like having that cost limits what you can do. Blue doesn't have the best sorceries, but you can usually, like, you're forced to essentially play blue in order to play other interesting things. But man, I don't know. Yeah, unfortunately I just don't know enough about what you can do with this card. But I am a bit afraid of it. Possibly commander staple though. No escape. 2 and a blue. For a counter spell, counter target creature or planeswalker spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. Scry 1. So it's decent. It's not objectively better than negate because it does cost 1 more, and that 1 more does absolutely matter when you're dealing with counter spells. That said, the fact that the scries is helpful, the fact that his planeswalkers is helpful. In limited, I definitely think this is a pretty much always grab. And for draft, I'm not entirely sure like what tier pick it is, but I'm sure it's decent. But for sealed, this is a fantastic card in sealed because of the fact that it allows you to get rid of the ways your opponents win, right? In sealed, you really do need to care about creatures, and for this one, planeswalkers. So the fact that it does that is nice, and it has scry, which is decent. I just don't think this is going to see play anywhere else than limited. Ravnica at War. 3 and a white, exile all multicolored permanents. I don't think this card is going to be played pretty much anywhere. Mono white EDH decks, maybe, but even then, not all multicolored decks play nothing but multicolored cards. I just don't see this being effective enough. Maybe if it was instant, maybe if it was still a sorcery and cost a little bit less. Even if it was like 1 white, that might have been more likely to see play at a sorcery speed. Hell, even 3 or 2 white for an instant. But as it is right now, I just think it's pretty much never going to be used. Do forgive me, of course. I need to continually oil up my throat. Catato? I don't know. Flux Channeler. 2 and a blue for a 2/2. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, proliferate. This is an actual Tide numero dos. For what it's worth, when you cast a planeswalker, that is a non-creature spell, so you can proliferate from that. That said, the original planeswalker you cast does not get the extra counter because of the fact that it's not going to be in play. Yet, I do think that this is going to be a pretty decent card in the Arena Plus format, as long as I can, for module combo, as long as I can actually get that set back, please, Wizards. I understand a lot of people don't want Kaladesh in, but I want Shadows of Innistrad and Amonkhet enough that I'd be willing to deal with Kaladesh, especially since I also want to play module combo. So, I've seen a lot of people say this card's going to be insane. I don't see it, but I'm just one person, and I can only conceive of so many decks at once. That said, I feel like it's probably going to be decent in decks that really want proliferate constantly, but other than that, I'm just like, seems kind of mediocre to me. Herald of the Dreadhorde, 4 mana, 3/2 zombie. I do hope we get some other like actually good zombies. There are a couple that they're like all right here that I'll be talking about. But a Herald of the Dreadhorde, whenever it dies, amass 2. Mass essentially is if you don't have an army, you start building up your army, and you're building it up, you're not building it wide. So that's something that you should know. It still represents multiple creatures, essentially. But the reason they did try it with, they made a bunch of 1/1s, but that was just too good. And I absolutely agree. I think that if you were amassing a wide army, it's a lot stronger than just getting one large token. But if you have one, you make it bigger. If you don't have one, you make it. So, 4 mana 3/2. When it dies, you get a 2/2 or a buff to your your current army. I think Horde might already be a creature type. If not, I feel like Horde might have been a better creature type than Army, because I feel like Army is a little easier to transfer to other worlds than Horde is, especially since this is called the Dread Horde. That said, this is comparable to Death Spore Thalid, I believe. And, you know, that sees play in some versions of Saprolings, and Saprolings isn't really like a tiered deck. So I think, similar to that, this can maybe be a budget card for the Zombies deck. It's decent and limited because of the fact that it does have 2 bodies attached to it. But other than that, it's just limited stuff. Invade the city. 1 blue red, amass X, where X is the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. This might be like just another singleton alternate win condition in a Drake style deck, where you're going to want to have a large number of instants in the graveyard anyway. This is kind of just like an ancillary card that you can use to get Phoenix out. It only costs 2 if you have Goblin Electromancer in place, so that's interesting. Other than that, though, I just don't see this being great because I suppose you could be playing in a mass deck that has a decent number of instant sorceries, but my feeling is that if you're going to be playing a mass, you're probably going to be wanting to play zombies anyway. I don't know how good incidental army creation is going to be. If incidental army creation is going to be good, then this card might see play, but otherwise, I feel as if it's just better in zombies, but I could be wrong. Dread Horde Invasion. Some people have said this might be like Bitter Blossom 5 and 6 in modern tokens, but modern tokens I don't believe is anywhere right now because the format is that fast. That said, Dread Horde Invasion, you know, 2-mana enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 and amass 1, so you either get a 1/1, which is cool, or you make your current 1 bigger, which is not great. I do think making a new token is a lot better most often, but whenever a zombie you control with 6 or greater power attacked, it gains lifelink. So that's really interesting because if you're able to have all of these amass things out, and you're able to get that 6/6 or the 6 power or more token, you can swing with that and gain back the life that you've been losing from Dread Horde. So that is something that's different about Bitter Blossom. Obviously, Bitter Blossom goes wide and it has flying, which is, you know, nice. But I do think this is decent. I'm definitely going to be trying it in my zombies deck just because of how annoying it is. For what it's worth, you can sack these tokens, right? So this is like consistent fodder for something like, what is her name? The DJ, Priest of Forgotten Gods. This is sack fodder for other things that I don't actually know about right now. But, you know, it is sack fodder. You won't be getting, like, the cool zombie, but for what it's worth, it does say zombie token, so, like, you can't actually just play a Molder Hulk or something, but for some reason, let's say you're playing an enchantment that makes it large, you can get that. Widespread Brutality. 1 black and double red for a sorcery, amass 2. Then the army, I love this templating. The army you amassed deals damage equal to its power to each non-army creature. I love that. So this is kind of a board wipe. It is similar to some of the 2-drop board wipes we've seen, like Fiery Cannonade. But, you know, this makes a creature, which is nice. If you have a decent-sized decent-sized army, you can deal a lot of damage, right? The unfortunate thing is if you're playing against another army player, then this is not as good. It's pretty much dead. I'm confused as to why the people of Ravnica are wearing those clothes. It looks very strange to me. Like, that dude looks like an Italian Renaissance man, and that woman looks like she's from Iran, which doesn't make, like, any sense to me. But whatever. I don't know. Also, that baby's arm looks like a freaking chicken leg, dude. Like, when I first saw this, I was like, why is there a chicken leg there? Do I think this card is good? I'm going to try it in amass, but nah, not really. I think in limited, if you can get a good enough amass cards, this is amazing, but I don't see this being good because, like, in a control deck, you don't care about the amass. You want to just kill everything on board, and in a deck that has amass, I don't know how much you... Well, actually, I don't know how much someone is going to be playing amass. Ooh, then we get to one of my favorites. This is going into mono black immediately. Willing on it, Death Horde General. 6 mana for a 6 loyalty walker. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. It's so beautiful. It doesn't say non-creature. It just says whenever a creature you control dies. It's so good. +1, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Oh, it gives me zombie tokens. Oh, I'll be playing this in zombies. Oh, it's going to be so good. Months for each player sacrifices 2 creatures. You can use this when you need to. You can use it when you don't have any creatures. You can use this when you have 1 creature. You can use this, and since you have tokens, you can just sack your tokens. It's so good. -9, each player chooses a permanent they control. Each opponent, excuse me, each opponent. This is not symmetrical. Chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest. This can happen 4 turns after she comes out. She protects herself. Maybe you're playing this in a zombie deck. You have plenty of protection. I don't think it's going to see play in Modern. I don't think it's going to play in any other Eternal format except for like EDH, because she's great in zombie decks. She's decent in other decks, honestly. And in Standard, I don't think she's going to be good. I'm going to play her because I love me some Liliana. Bruh. Imagine Arena Plus. We'd have the 5-mana Amonkhet Liliana. We'd have the turn 4 Lili, the turn 5 Lili, the turn 6 Lili. So many tokens. I'm getting sidetracked. She's cool. I love her. Tibalt's Rager. He threw a sick Rager, man. This is... I'm not cool, okay? I'm literally wearing nail polish. That has nothing to do with not being cool. Oh god, I'm cringeworthy. It's like been an hour, alright? Shut up. I'm going through these dang cards. There's so many. Oh, Tibalt's Rager. When Tibalt's Rager dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. It's a more expensive Footlight Fiend. The difference is it has 2 toughness. Tibalt's Rager gets +2/+0 until end of turn, so that's nice. That's something Footlight Fiend can't do. I think this is decent. It is like a mana sink for those super those super small decks. It's another interesting sack thing with Judith, which is nice, or thing that you don't care about dying with Judith. Will it see play? I don't know. I think there are probably just better cards to run in that slot in those styles of decks. But I think it's at least on the cusp because it does have that activated ability. If it didn't have that, it'd be significantly worse, even if it was like a 2/2. But it has that ability, which is nice. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if this saw play. Also, for what it's worth, Judith likes its energy. Bolas the Citadel with the big man on top there. This is huge. Bolas is not a small dragon. Bolas is a large being. So this thing is freaking large. I mean, I guess you can see that it's literally towering over these buildings, right? Like that's like these are the roofs of I think like normal homes. So just imagine that. Why don't you? It is a legendary artifact. I do like that they are allowing colored artifacts to just be a thing when they need them. That's cool. 3 in triple black. 3 triple black. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. That's nice. You may play the top card of your library. Decent. You cast the spell. Excuse me. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its converted mana cost rather than paying its mana cost. That's pretty dang good. Sacrifice 10 line on permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life. So for what it's worth, if a thing costs 0, you pay no life because it costs 0. If a thing doesn't have a mana cost, this gives an alternative mana cost, which I believe means you can cast it. Huh. Then you sacrifice 10 non-permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life. Huh. Not gonna lie, I'm interested in seeing if this deck sees some sort of modern play, because it can do combo things. This is a combo card. I don't think it'll see play in Standard. In EDH, this card is probably ridiculous. Yeah, this card is probably ridiculous in EDH, but I think it's actually worse in Standard than it is in Modern, because Modern, it's easier to break. Tibalt, Rakish Instigator. I do love how Tibalt looks. He looks suave, and he's a D-bag. 3 mana for a 5 loyalty walker. Your opponents can't gain life. Similar to Rampaging Frostodon, except Frostodon had Medicine Could Attack. This obviously can't. But it might be a decent sideboard option against decks that gain life. -2, create a 1/1 red devil creature token with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. So this is a Footlight Fiend, except for the fact that it is not black and red. It's just red. So do I think this Tibalt is good? I don't know. Do I think this Tibalt is better than the first one? Yes. Yes. Will this see play? It might. It might see play in decks that care about having these small creatures that you don't mind sacking, in decks that you really just want your opponent not to be able to gain life, even if it's incidental. So I think this is possible to see some sideboard play or some niche play, but other than that, it's okay. We have a lot of board wipes in this format. Time Wipe. 2 double white and blue. Return a creature you control to its owner's hand, then destroy all creatures. This is also a combo. It's a slower combo, and it's not infinite, but there's a red kicker card from Dominaria. I believe it costs like 2 innately and then kickers for 4. Return an instant sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. And then there's just the Salvager, the 2/2 for 5 ATBs, return instant sorcery from the graveyard to your hand. You could just rebuy this every turn, because you keep bouncing the one creature, you wipe the board, you play the creature again, you put this back in your hand, and you threaten to do it all over again. It is it's a sorcery, so you can't like save your creature from dying to something instant speed, but it's an interesting thing. Is this good? Yes. Is it better than Cleansing Nova? I'm not sure, because Cleansing Nova does give you option of hitting artifacts and enchantments as well, and I feel like this is the time with the Planeswalker, so I think Esper Control is just not going to really have any creatures as their win conditions, which is unfortunate, because like Nezahal never really got a chance, Chromat never really got a chance. Like both those cards did see some play, but they never really got a chance. So it's something interesting. It might honestly see play once Cleansing Nova rotates. Does Cleansing Nova rotate? I don't remember where that got printed. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Why is the video paused? Yes, continue. I've never known YouTube to do that. I guess it's just because I've been talking so long. Oh my god, we're an outer. Ob Nixilis' Cruelty. 3 mana. Instant speed, common. Target creature gets -5 until end of turn. If that creature would die this turn, exile instead. This card has got to be good in Pauper, right? This seems like a really good removal spell for Pauper. He looks evil, which is interesting. He's literally just torturing that bird for pretty much no reason, because he's like, yeah, I don't like the Gatewatch. Also, Bolas is not my guy. I'm just going to do some torturing, why not? Nah, you know, sure, whatever. Whatever. I think this is obviously a great limited card. This is fantastic removal. 3 mana for -5/-5, pretty dang good. And it exiles, which is nice. Honestly, this might see play in standard. You know, Lava Coil, we've seen how strong that can be just for the fact that it exiles. This costs 1 more, but it does give that additional -5. And for what it's worth, it is an instant, and it gives a -5 on the power as well. So I think this card is probably just valuable enough. It has enough of those little percentages that this might actually see standard play. Unfortunately, nowhere else but standard limited, but still decent. Ob Nixilis, the Hate Twisted. 3 black for a 5 loyalty walker. Whenever an opponent draws, Ob deals 1 damage to that player. Sure, it's okay. For 5 mana, that seems a bit not good. Destroy a target creature for -2. That's, you know, that seems decent. Its controller draws 2 cards. That's not good. That's never good. You can destroy your own creatures, which I assume is the only thing that this will ever be used for in a deck where you want to be destroying your creatures anyway to get some sort of advantage. But there's like no way you should give your opponent positive card advantage, right? You could destroy their creature and give them a creature in a land, but you're still drawing them through that land. Even though you're dealing 2 damage to that player, that's not good. Like, these knobs are bad. Like, we look at Ob's Cruelty, and then we look at Ob, and we're like, what happened? Like, maybe if he dealt 2 damage to a player, but then the static would be too strong. Maybe if you just had them draw 1 card, I don't even think that would be too strong. It would even technically nerf it, because then you couldn't draw 2 cards from destroying your own creature. I don't see why it gives them 2 cards. I don't know. I don't think this card's good. I think in limited, maybe you can play it, because if you need to, you can really get rid of one of the bombs, or you can just destroy some of your meager creatures to try and draw into your bombs, but I don't think this is good. Relentless Advance. 3 in a blue, amass 3. This card is limited fodder. Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. I'm glad that they're doing a little bit more of his mill stuff, because it's like mind-wipey. 1 and triple blue. For a 4 loyalty walker, if you would draw a card, while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. Okay. Target player puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. Draw a card. This is Thought Erasure. Not Thought Erasure, sorry. This is... Crap. It's a Phyrexian card. Not Phyrexian mana, but it's like a card from New Phyrexia, I believe. It's played in formats. Shut up. I don't remember what it's called. But you can target yourself with this, which is nice. -8. Draw 7 cards. Then if your library has no cards in it, you win the game. It has to say you win the game on that ability. Some people have asked, why does it say that when its static ability says you win the game if you try to draw more cards? Because if you -8, this would go away, like because of state-based act. Well, yeah, because you paid the cost as it, so it would check state-based actions. And this would die, and then you wouldn't have that thing. So if it's exactly at 8 and you use this ability, then you would lose if you drew too many cards. But having that clause on it is really nice. So this is an interesting card. I'm going to try and make a self-mill deck. I think there might honestly be enough cards for it that you don't even have to, like, care about just milling yourself, because you have things like Narcomoeba, you have Creeping Chills, you have things that you can get back from your graveyard. So I'm interested in making a some sort of kind of dredge deck. The problem with it is that this has triple blue, so it's a little frightening, but I think this is definitely an interesting card. It's probably just gonna it might see play in mill, like by itself, just where you're normally milling your opponent, just because you still do get to draw some cards, and incidentally, if you go up against a control deck and for some reason they aren't able to get rid of this, then you can, it's an extra win condition if the game goes super long, but it's whatevs. Paradise Druid, take me down to Paradise City with the grass is green and the girls are pretty. Oh, won't you please take me home? 2 mana for a 2/1. Paradise Druid has hexproof as long as it's untapped. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Now, I think this is an interesting design. I really do like limited hexproof. So if something like this style of thing where it only has hexproof if certain things are met, or Nullhide Ferox where you can get rid of the hexproof, I think that is the correct way to deal with hexproof, right? The problem is this is a 2/1 and not a 1/2. I think it's reasonable that this is a little different than what we typically understand for mana dorks being more defensive. This can get on the offense. It's a Goblin Piker with upside, but I don't think it is better than just playing Druid of the Cowl or Incubation Druid. I did realize that this adds 1 mana of any color, so it actually might be fine. It might be fine. It's no whatever. It's no one of those. It might see play in standard. I doubt it, but it might. It's not good anywhere else. Arlinn, voice of the pack. Aru. She looks younger. A lot of people have said that. I don't know, man. She is whatever. She's probably like 40. She looked kind of 50 in her last one. Maybe she is 50 and she's just a really good-looking 50-year-old. For what it's worth, she turns into a wolf constantly. She's constantly exercising, probably eating well. I don't know what you want from me. 6 mana for a 7 loyalty walker. Each creature you control that's a wolf or werewolf enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. There aren't very many wolves or werewolves in standard right now. -2, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. So that's nice. So you can activate this ability 3 times before you have to have her just at 1. And all 3 of those will be 3/3s, which is really nice. She works nicely with herself. She essentially is an enchantment that makes 3/3s every turn. But my hope is that this is essentially a plant card for Arena Plus, because Shadows of Innistrad and Eldritch Moon were in the alpha stage of MTGA. I really want to see Shadows of Innistrad back, because it allows people an entire new, people have already played with Kaladesh. We've already played with Amonkhet. But Shadows of Innistrad was also such an interesting set. It did have vampires, it did have werewolves and ghosts and all of this interesting stuff, that I think that the interplay between Shadows and then the Ravnican sets would be something that's really fun to explore for people. Even though we would have Kaladesh and Amonkhet back again, I think those 2 sets bridging the gap, so to say, would be something interesting, and I'm hoping that this is in here and we will get Shadows back. Because as it is, for what it's worth, great and limited. You're paying 6 mana for 9/9 worth of stats, and maybe if you get some of her wolves, since they are common, you get some more value from that. But in standard, there's not enough wolves or werewolves. In Arena Plus, hopefully. If you're trying to make an EDH deck with wolves and werewolves, this is just another card to go in that, which is helpful because the deck doesn't have a lot. Oh, this is a person. I was like, source, not a wolf. What? Arlinn's wolf. Hey, look, it's a wolf. 3 mana for a 3/2. Arlinn's wolf can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. All right, can't be chump blocked, essentially. That's nice. It can't die to something that is, it can't trade down, essentially. It'll always trade up, because it can deal 3 damage. It always will trade up. Not necessarily that, it will always kill things that are bigger. Crushed Descent. 3 and a blue. God damn, they look cool. I do believe that is new boy. I totally know his name. Shut up. Where is he? Where are they? Teo. I totally believe that is Teo getting put in an awkward position by that Eternal Man. How are his hands in that position though? I'm not going to read into this art anymore because I'm trying to understand how his... Because his face is like... Whatever. Counter target spell unless it's control pace 2 for a 4 mana instant. That's not very good. Amass 2. I don't think this card's good. Probably fine in limited, but it is not good anywhere else. Kaya's Ghost Form. Holy shit, this card's insane. 1000% this card is insanity. This is going into that Planeswalker combo deck. This should go into pretty much every Planeswalker EDH deck because of the fact that when a enchanted permanent, so creature or Planeswalker, dies or is put into exile, so even if they exile that MF, return it to the battlefield under your control. What's really interesting, what's really the creme de la creme here, you can ultimate a Planeswalker, and if it had that exact number of loyalty, let's say it has a loyalty of 8, and you -8, this comes back and you can use it again because it's different. It's a different entity. It considers itself a different entity. That's so cool. This card's going to be great. Obviously, it has the problem of being an enchantment, so you can like play it on something and then like it dies in response. But for what it's worth, that's fine, right? Like if you already use a Planeswalker's ability, let's say, you know, you're not doing the ultimate thing. Let's say you just plus a Planeswalker and then you try and put it on afterwards. They were probably going to kill that Planeswalker anyway. So I don't know. I think this card's awesome. I don't know if it'll see play anywhere, but I think it's awesome. Kaya, Bane of the Dead. 3 Orzhov for a 7 loyalty walker. Your opponents and permanents your opponents control with hexproof can be the targets of spells and abilities you control as though they didn't. -3, exile target creature. You can do this twice before you have to do some shenanigans. This is essentially a 6 mana just exile 2 creatures, and for the rest of the game, as long as she's out at just sitting chilling at 1 loyalty, you're going to be able to just target things like Carnage Tyrants. That's pretty nice. I don't know if it'll actually see play in standard, because I have no idea how... I don't know how much creatures are going to play a role in the standard, dude. Because there's a lot of way to kill creatures. This is going to be an interesting format. This is going to be an interesting format. She's cool, though. I don't know. My throat is haggard, dude. Liliana's Triumph. 2 mana. For an instant. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. If you control Liliana Planeswalker, each opponent also discards a card. This is better than many edict effects at this mana cost in other formats. I think this is possibly going to see play in both Modern and Legacy. Both of those decks have a... both of those formats have a Pox deck that I believe run, at least in the Legacy version, I believe they either run Innocent Blood or Diabolic Edict. And this is just better because those decks also run Liliana of the Veil. And they run that as a 4-of because of how strong that card is. Being able to have Liliana out and get a value from this is insanity in a deck that wants your opponent to keep discarding. The fact that it's instant makes this even better. Good in standard, depending on... Like, I don't think this format's going to go very wide because of the fact that we have amass. I think it's going to be a tall format. But my goodness, good in standard, potentially good in standard. I'm not entirely sure. Potentially good. I'm definitely going to like if we get that Arena Plus format, Liliana's Triumph is going to be really hard not to play in the Liliana word I'm looking for. The Liliana theme deck. Is there a Liliana from Shadows of Innistrad? I think there is. It's Liliana the Last Hope at 3 mana. Right? I think it's a 3 mana. If that's the case, if we get Shadows of Innistrad back, I will 1000% make a deck that runs 3 of each of the Lilianas, Last Hope into Untouched by Death, into Death's Majesty, into the new one who's Dread Horde Commander or whatever. This is gonna be man. Ooh, I'm excited. I am so excited. I have a community post on the YouTube channel. Please go there and just be like, Barracks, play this deck, please. For war decks, because I'm super excited. Augur Bolas is getting a reprint. 2 mana, 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them, put them in your hand, put the rest in the bottom in any order. Now, I don't know how good this card will be in this format because I don't know how many instant sorcery spells will be played. That said, it's a good roadblock, right? It's comparable to Omen Speaker, except for the fact that this allows you to go one deeper, I believe, and it allows you to get a card into your hand, whereas Omen Speaker just scries, but that scry is technically more valuable because you can keep all of them on top, or like anything in between. That said, it's fine if you whiff on this, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. It really depends on the metagame, I think, whether or not this will be good. Dovin's Veto. White, blue. This spell can't be countered. Counter target non-creature spell. This is a better negate. For what it's worth, it's not power creep. This costs white as well. You know, this is not negate. It is technically better, but cards that cost more colors are allowed to be better. This card is good. I think this will be played in control deck sideboards, and I am very sad that this card exists, because I think that what it kind of means is that if you're playing a non-white control deck, you are going to be at a disadvantage, and that sucks as someone who prefers to play Grixis. Yeah, Kest Levi though. Kest Levi. I'm saying that wrong, and I'm saying it on purpose. Karn's Bastion. It's a land. It taps to add a colorless, and then pay for Proliferate. There's an enchantment, or there's an artifact called a Contagion Clasp, which pretty much just does the same. It has an additional effect, but it's really small. This card is going to see play in a large number of EDH decks. Not just cards with Infect, not just Planeswalker decks, but also things with charge counters, things with assemble counters for that one enchantment. There are so many counters in EDH. You can even use this as a political tool. It's interesting. I am excited for this card. It is going to be expensive. This is going to be an expensive card because of EDH alone. Will it play in Standard? Potentially. If you're playing a Planeswalker deck that doesn't rely on too many colors, or you can just get those colors anyway, I think that this card is potentially going to be pretty good. Cura Behemoth Beckoner. Oh my god. This is a podcast now. 2 and a Simic for a 7 loyalty Planeswalker. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. -1 untap target permanent. So this is a really interesting card because it is essentially it's a mono green card, right? Like this can be played in mono green as an enchantment that allows you to untap some of your permanents. This allows you to play creatures faster because it can untap some of your lands. It allows you to have pseudo vigilance because you can untap your creatures to block. And the fact that this is a 7 loyalty walker that has a -1 ability, this is going to stick around for a while potentially, and just give you a lot of card draw, which is something that the mono green deck needs, and it's going to give them shenanigans. And I think this deck helps mono green stay alive. I don't know whether or not it will fully stay alive, but it's a good card. I think this is a valuable card. It'll probably see play in some Simic decks in EDH. That said, you can't play it in a deck that isn't blue and green in its color identity, but it seems decent. I don't know. Teferi Time Raveler. 1 white, blue for a 4 mana for loyalty Planeswalker. Each opponent can cast spells only any time they could cast a sorcery. Another reason why I think that if you're not playing a white control deck, you are screwed. Because this pretty much means if this resolves and you don't have an answer for it on your turn, you can no longer play counterspells. You can't do the counter war. You can't bait things at instant speed against your control opponents. I am afraid of this card. What does that mean? Like I hold no fear, but that thing scares me or something like that. I don't know. +1 until your next turn, you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. Come on. Why do we need this? You can now play some sorcery spells, like Lava Coil in the Jeskai deck, for example, at instant speed. That's pretty dang cool. -3, return up to 1 target artifact, creature, or enchantment to its owner's hand. Draw a card. You can use this to bounce something of yours to get it value again. You can use this to delay something from your opponent, and you get a card to draw to boot. I've seen people talk about this card for Modern and Legacy, and honestly, it's potentially insane. The fact that this card is just like, hey, you don't get to play on my turn, is insane. Obviously, you can still activate abilities, but man, I am worried about this card. I hope it's not good. At least not in Standard. I hope it's not, but I'm unsure. Crap, I don't remember what the dang card does. It's Wheat Farmer of Bolas. 2 and a red. As long as it's your turn, Wheat Farmer Bolas has first strike. It's not actually called that, by the way. It's something Invader. It's on. I think it might be on crop Invader, because it says it's on in there. So I think it's on crop. Oh, because Wheat Farmer crop. Yeah. Okay. Plus or a single generic, sacrifice another creature. Wheat Farmer Bolas gets +2/+0 until end of turn. It's a 2/2. This is, you know, it's a card. I don't know what you want to say about that. It's a common card. It seems fine. Samet's Sprint. A single red. Target creature gets +2/+1 and gains haste until end of turn. Scry 1. This maybe helps the combo drakes because it does give a decent boost, as well as haste. But it does scry, doesn't draw, so I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. For what it's worth, it's totally fine combat trick in limited. It doesn't give a ton of toughness, but it does give some. Seems decent, honestly. 2 Gruul for a 5 loyalty walker. Creatures control have haste. Sure, I will totally take that in a red-green monsters deck. The red-green monsters deck has a lot of supporting cast, and I just don't know how exactly they're going to maintain their monsters in a deck that has so many support cards. -1. It's Samet's Sprint. -1 to Samet's Sprint. You very similar to like Kiora. You can. She comes in with a decent amount. You can do this several times. You get to scry as well. Very helpful in a deck that cares about, you know, monsters. I feel like this card is decent. I don't know if it's good enough to see play in the monsters deck because it has so many choices. But I would not be surprised if it did. It's not good anyways. The Wanderer. Wait. Yeah, I'm the Wanderer. I roam around. War never changes. I can't do a Ron Perlman. That said, Wanderer is a 4 loyalty walker for 4 mana walker for 5 loyalty. Jeez. Prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to you and other permanents you control. Cool. She doesn't protect herself from non-combat damage, but for what it's worth, burn can't go to your face or your creature's face, which is cool. What the fuck? Oh, that... No, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Exile target creature with power 4 or greater. Sure. She's fine. She is 4 mana for slight protection for a little bit, and you can exile 2 large creatures. I mean, that seems decent, at least in limited. I don't think she'll see play in EDH, or fudge. I don't think she'll see play in standard, but that has nothing to do with her being weak. It has more to do with her being not strong, if that makes any sense. Wanderer Strike, 4 and a white, exile target creature, then proliferate. So that's cool. You know, you get to exile something and you get to proliferate, which is nice. We're gonna talk really briefly about who this Wanderer is. First, I want to say in the background, that reminds me of a freaking card from Amonkhet, and I can't put my finger on it, but it's a demon. I don't think it's Archfiend of Ifnir. I think it's a different demon. So if you can put in the comments, if you've gotten this far and you're still with me, let me know in the comments what this card is. And I'm definitely going to give you a heart for that. How do I do that? This thing? I don't know. I'm not cool. So, as we can see, the Wanderer, we can't see their face. We know it's a female. I mean, she's wearing a dress and has feminine traits. Some people have said this is Elspeth. It's not. It's just not. This is not Elspeth's design. It's not her MO. She is in Theros, and there's no reason Wizards... Like, that is, like, the reason to go back to Theros. There's no reason Wizards would throw that away. Also, she doesn't have Therosian clothes. Either she's a brand new walker, which I am leaning towards, but I hope not, because I want her to be Emrakul. Someone posted on the subreddit, and this, I think it's gotten gold and like double silver at this point. Someone said that her like head thing here, like her armor looks really similar to Emrakul's statue, Emeria, essentially. And you know, it has like this kind of like Emrakul shape. You know, it has the top portion kind of being like a triangle thing, and then like the tentacles are like this white thing here, which I guess is supposed to be hair. I don't know. I think it would be awesome. I don't think that's the case, but it'd be really cool if this was just like a planeswalker that was like controlled by Emrakul, or if it was just like Emrakul somehow manifesting herself in planeswalker form, because they are planeswalking entities. They just aren't planeswalkers. They don't do it the same way. But it would be interesting if that was the thing. I don't know. It's cool. Like he said, like there's like the feather design is like heron-like, and like, you know, she has a long sword, and like it's just like heron motifs and things like that. I think it would be really cool, but it's probably just a normal planeswalker. This doesn't look like Innistrad clothes. Yeah, I don't know. It would be cool, but it's not. Oh, they also said like this is similar to Ion's Judgment, which is a 5-mana sorcery that exiles a creature. I don't know if it does anything else, but it exiles a creature, and like Iona is the shield of Emeria, and Emeria is Emrakul. So I don't know. It was a fun thing, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Holy crap! My gosh. All right, I'm out of apple juice. I need to not die. Rising Populace, 3 mana, 2/2. Whenever another creature or planeswalker you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's fine in like limited or something. I don't think this is very good in anything else. Erratic Visionary, 2 mana for a 1/3 walker. 2 mana to and tap to draw a card, then discard a card. It's a looter. But is it good? I don't think so. I don't know. In a deck where you want to draw cards, maybe. Looters are always good in limited, I should say. And this, I don't think this one's an exception. I just don't know what it's supposed to do. I will mention that it's one of my favorite flavor text so far. It is an experiment. Begins with a what if, gets approved with a why not, and it concludes with a eureka. Naga Eternal, 3 mana for a 3/2 zombie. It is a limited card. That is pretty much it. I do hope we get some like black zombies that are good. I don't mind if we get some blue zombies that are good as well, because Shadows of Innistrad does have blue zombies as well. But I would like to get some good black zombies for my zombie deck, please. I would love that so much. Burning Prophet. I have no idea who this person is. She does not look like any guild I can think of. Right? Like, I have no idea who this person is. Right? Like, I don't... Like, what the hell are these gold things? Like, I don't know what guild she's supposed to be from. I'm very confused. That said, 2 mana... 2 mana for a 1/3. It functionally has prowess, except for the fact that you also get to scry 1. So it's better than prowess. Is this card good, though? Probably. It's probably fine in a like a spell heavy deck. I don't know. It seems fine. I don't know. I don't know how good that type of deck is. Honor the God Pharaoh. Praise the Sun. Deus Vault and all that. 2 or 3 mana for a sorcery. It is additional cost to cast a spell. Discard a card. Draw 2 cards. Then amass 1. This is comparable to the treasure spell that I can't remember the name of. Plunder. Pitiless? No, it's not Pitiless Plunder. Who cares? I can see it in my head. There's a monkey taking a jewel out of a statue. It's very similar to that. You do get to amass 1, which is fine. If you're playing amass, probably you're going to need this. I don't see them printing very many good amass cards, but you know, it's fine. It's not going to be played anywhere else. Cruel Celebrant. White and black for a 1/2 vampire. Whenever Cruel Celebrant or another creature or planeswalker you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. It's essentially Blood Artist, except this doesn't count your opponent's creatures, but it does count your own planeswalkers, and it does count your token creatures, which Blood Artist I don't believe did. It might have, I don't remember. But you know, it's fine. This also works with Precinct. Is it Hero Precinct 1? I think it is. It's also, you know, it's a vampire. It goes in your vampire deck's pretty fine because it gives you a bit of value against board wipes, which is nice. That's something that deck has to contend with. So, you know, I think it's a decent card. I think it'll see play in some arena standard decks. I think that's what it'll say to mean not good decks, but decent arena decks. You know, it's like gold level, I think. Angrath, Captain of Chaos. 2 Rakdos for a 5 loyalty walker. Creatures you control have Menace. Amass 2. He would not work with Bolas, especially if Bolas trapped him here again. He literally just got back to his daughters. Angrath is not evil. He's a dick, but he's not evil. So if they like retconned Angrath, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be royally pissed. But a lot of people are saying that it's probably like he's known for controlling others with his chains. The idea is that he's not amassing army for Bolas. He's amassing his own army. He's using the Eternals against each other, I think. It would have been nice if they showed an Eternal stabbing another Eternal. It kind of looks like they're fighting each other, but we can't really tell. But if it showed, like, an Eternal stabbing another one with, like one of Angrath's chains, that would have been really helpful. That said, this card looks really crisp. Looks really crisp. This is definitely, like, second-ranked Angrath for me. Oh, right. His name is No Fire, No Steel, guys. I think Raymond Swanland is first, this one second, and then the current avatar is third. Excuse me. Gideon's Triumph. I do believe that there are likely to be... So there was a cycle of defeat cards from Amonkhet, I believe. Or Hour of Devastation, I should say. And it looks like we're probably going to... You know, we got Liliana's Triumph down here. We're probably going to be getting some amount of Triumph cards. I don't know if we're going to get one for Jace and Ajani. No, Ajani wasn't there. Jace and Nissa and Chandra. I don't know if we'll be getting all of those as well, but this is kind of at least a small cycle. 2 mana for an instant. Target opponent sacrifices a creature that attacked this turn. If you control a Gideon Planeswalker, that player sacrifices 2 of those creatures instead. So, you know, decent. This goes in the I believe Gideon's called Chad. this goes in the Chad theme deck. You know, play a bunch of Gideons, and then you can just force your opponent to attack with the 5-mana Gideon, and you force them to sacrifice 2 creatures with this. This card's fine. If you're playing a deck that runs Gideon for some reason, then you can play this. I don't remember what this card's called. Angrath's Wrath. I don't think it's actually... It might be called that, actually. Choose one. It's a sorcery for 2 mana. Target player sacrifice an artifact, sacrifice a creature, or sacrifice a planeswalker. It's good. It's removal. They get to choose to sack, but, you know, it's decent. It has modes. You can choose the best one for you. Probably just a sideboard option, but I don't know. Ciudad Grandiosa. No. Here, not pass. Out of something? So I don't speak, I believe this is Portuguese, but I do speak French. Okay, I don't know. Anyone who speaks that language wants to let us know what that flavor text is, please let me know. So then we get to some more basic lands. I'll talk about this in a second. This shows like Bolas, like kind of eternalized. There's like sun rays and then like doves. So a lot of people have speculated this is like the aftermath, like Bolas like eternalized and then I got murdered. I hope that's not the case because that Bolas does not look near big enough. I don't know, I guess his head's the size of a building. Okay, fine. This shows the immortal sun on top of the hollow fountain. Cool. This is like... It looks like Amonkhet is overlaying with Ravnica, which is really interesting. Like, this is just the stairs, right, of an Amonkhet building. And then this is like a normal Ravnican thing, but it has like this weird cut now. This archway now has like these Bolas horn things. So that's interesting, right? It's very interesting. I just don't know what it means yet. At first I thought these were freaking rocket ships. You know, we see this his palace thing. We see some obelisks, and it still kind of looks like they're entering Ravnica, right? It looks like it's the freaking moon, not Moonlander, that Elon Musk ship that comes down. It looks like that, and it's confusing. This is another one that just looks like Ravnica's being like overlaid a little bit with some of Amonkhet. It's strange, but you know, whatever. Vivian's Arkbow, another legendary artifact. Interesting art here by Zach Stella because it's very like evocative of what Therese Nielsen does. She does a lot of the circly things, but she does it the entire thing. You know, Vivian is still clear. Vivian's still herself, and then this side of the image is still like normal. So you know, I really love the art here. And it is. I don't know if it was on purpose, if it was evocative, but it's really interesting here because it shows like a wheel, right? It's like she's a freaking RPG character, and she has her arrow, and she's like choosing which of these things to summon. But pay X to discard a card, tap, discard a card. Look at the top X cards of your library. You may put a creature card from with converted may cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of any in any order. So this is similar to things like Birthing Pod, things like the the evolution with the snake boa lady on it, and I can't remember the actual name of the card. It's similar to those, except instead of sacrificing something from the board in order to search your library for something better, you just have to pay a bunch of mana and discard a card to look the top X and get a creature card. I will say this is really great in limited because it just turns those late game lands into something good. Is it good in standard? I don't know. Maybe. I don't think so. I'm inclined to say no. I've heard people say this is possibly good in elves, but I don't know. Yayo, it's a tail. 3 mana for a 5 loyalty walker. You have hexproof. Cool. They can just shoot things at tail, which is fine. You know, you're getting rid of some burn. -2, create a 0/3 wall token with defender. Tail might be helpful against mono red, but there are plenty of other aggro decks that this doesn't really help you against. So I'm thinking, meh. Tail's Light Shield, 3 mana for a 0/3 wall. Excuse me, it's not a wall, it's an illusion, and it doesn't have defender. Whenever it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature control. This can become a 1/4, which is fine. You know, 3 mana 1/4, you know, doesn't have defender, so it can attack for some reason, but it's man. Yes, I'm hurrying because it's almost 2 hours. For what's worth that, yeah, okay, I'm near the top, it's fine. But my throat is killing me. Vivian's Grizzly, 3 mana for a 2/3 Bear Spirit. 4 mana, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card or a planeswalker card, you may reveal and put into your hand. If you don't put that card in the hand, put the card, if you don't, wait, what? If you don't put the card in your hand, I'm stupid. Put it on the bottom of your library. This is a good card. This is a 3 mana 2/3, which is fine. It's not great, but it's fine for a common. And you just get to pay 4. If you don't have mana, who cares? You just pay 4 and just like get cards. It's good. It's good in limited at least. Is it good in standard? Probably not. It's totally fine budget option for players who like playing green. This card's insane in limited. It's a great mana sink. It's fine statted. Vivian, Champion of the Wilds. 3 mana for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. You may cast creature spells as though they had flash. That's cool. I mean, that's just a nice thing to do. You can annoy your control opponents by casting things on their turn and having up your other creatures on your turn, whatever. +1, until your next turn, up to 1 target creature gains vigilance and reach. That's cool. You can deal with flyers. That's really nice. You can also be on the attack and defense at the same time. -2, look at the top 3 cards of your library, exile 1 face down, and put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order for as long as that card remains exiled. You may look at that card and you may cast it if it's a creature card. Very, very similar to the Cura. This is something that gives you value in those mono green decks. But as I said, these cards compete with that really crowded 3-drop spot. 3-drop. Words are hard. 3-drop slot. So I don't know which, if any of these are going to actually see play. I do like Vivian's odds because of the fact that she has 2 abilities. But, you know, Cure does have more loyalty starting out. I don't know. That said, I think she's pretty strong in limited at least, and I think she has room in standard. It's cool that they gave Magali. She's French. I don't know how to pronounce that exact name. It's cool that they gave her Vivian again. I like the consistency. I mean, this art was done by someone else. But it's not so close that you can really notice inconsistencies. Like I think technically your shoulder pads aren't there as much, but I could be wrong. But still, it doesn't actually matter. I really started to grow on Vivian. I think she's a lot cooler than I thought when I initially saw it. All right, it's getting late. I need to finish up. Davriel, Rogue Shadow Mage. One of the Magic designers, I can't remember exactly who it was, said that typically this is not something they would like let happen, just because of the fact that it is kind of obscuring the name. But because it's a rogue Shadow Mage who doesn't want people to notice him, he said it's totally fine because it made him laugh. And I love that about the designers of Magic, when they let stuff like that happen, just because it's a fun thing. That I really appreciate that. It really shows me that they care about the enjoyment of the game, not just making sure everything's super clean. 3 mana for a 3 loyalty walker. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has 1 or fewer cards in hand, Davriel, Rogue Shadow Mage, deals 2 damage to them. That's very good. That is essentially a scroll rack. I think that's essentially a scroll rack. There's several rack type things that I get confused by, but this is a payoff for discard decks, right? One big problem that discard decks have right now, I'm talking about modern, or I'm talking about standard right now, because there are decks that discard. There are a lot of discard cards, and I'm absolutely going to be playing a discard deck. Jeez, my brain is broken. Is that once you get to a point where your opponent has like no cards in hand, you keep drawing these discard spells, and you can't do anything with them. But this gives you inevitability. This gives you something to do, and that's really awesome. -1, target player discards a card. Sure. You can only do that twice if you want to keep them like around. It's unfortunate, of course, that this is a legendary planeswalker, so you can't actually have 2 of them on the field. But if you have another one and your opponent has a card in hand, you can minus this and then play the second one, right? It's totally fine. I think Davriel's pretty cool. Is he going to see play in standard? Only in those meme decks. He's probably fine and limited, honestly, just because he's essentially like better than Mind Rot, right? Like over the course of turns, you can just force them to keep discarding cards. You pretty much don't need him to stick around, but in limited, it's not unlikely that your opponent's just going to run out of cards, that you both are going to be hellbent, and this will keep doing damage to him. So yeah, I think it's decent in both limited and in standard. I should mention that maybe this sees play in modern discard. I know 8-rack is not a super strong thing right now, and I don't know if Davriel actually helps because they do have things like Liliana and stuff. But you know, maybe. I don't actually know. Davriel's Shadow Fugue. Let's do this. 4 mana for a sorcery. Target player discards 2 cards and loses 2 life. I actually don't think this card's very good. It's great in ED, it's great in limited. There are too many damn magic formats. It's very late. I'm very tired. I don't think this is going to be super good in standard. Yeah, I'm not sure. In the discard deck, if you really need those extra discard abilities, then this is fine. But I don't think you're going to. I think there are plenty of discard spells as it is. And I feel like you just won't need this. If you do, it's good. But I think it's just a limited card. Cura's Dambreaker. 6 mana for a 5/6. When it enters the battlefield, proliferate. Cool. This is a limited card. That's it. Teferi's Time Twister. Time Twist, not Time Twister. Oh god. Imagine like a Time Twister reprint, but with Teferi on it. Oh my god. I know it's on the reserve list, but if it just said like, if it said like you can only cast this if you have a Teferi Planeswalker, oh my god. With that 3 mana Teferi, Legacy would be a nightmare. Anyway, 2 mana instant. Exile target permanent you control. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the next end step. If it enters the battlefield as a creature, it enters with an additional +1/+1 counter. Woo! This card is helpful in Etrata decks that want to meme their way to victory. I will try to make an Etrata deck at some point, but not right now. This is Giant Growth. I don't need to go anywhere else. This is what's his name and his pupper, and he's making it giant. That is cool. That's about it. Okay, I have shredded my voice for the past hour and 42 minutes. As I said, this is hopefully the only one that's going to be super long like this, because it was just a bunch of things to talk about really early on. Whew, man. Again, feel free to post either in the comments below or on the community tab what decks you want to see me play in this upcoming format. Oh man, I would like to thank my lovely patrons, especially Salamander Croft, for their continued support. Honestly, like, their support is what allows me to just buy up as many cards as I can from a new set to make sure you all can see the decks that you want to see, right? I would not be able to do that without them. And if you'd like to join them and support the channel, making things like that happen, you can find links to that in the description below, as well as just click on that join button if you don't want to deal with Patreon to become a channel member, and they're treated exactly the same as patrons. Oh god, my brain hurts. Yeah, in the description is also the Discord server, and I'm not going to say the rest. Tap that like button, ask subscription, and abandon podcast, contact down below, pass turn the video to some of your friends, and until next time, I will be one. I am tired, I need to get a drink, and then I need to go to bed. Au revoir.